Hey, it's Sue, and today I am going to be experimenting with different rendering styles. Let's get right into it. And we are skipping straight to the cleanup sketch because I was having trouble making this video be a reasonable length for some unknown reason. It's just 2 illustrations. I usually can fit more than that in one video that's this length. I don't know why I was having so much trouble. But basically, I was trying to keep this picture relatively simple and do something more in my comfort zone so I could focus a lot on the rendering. So I drew Leo standing there looking cool, I guess. But he ended up being really stiff. I'm not entirely sure why. I didn't notice it till I had already done the line art, and at that point it was too late to change it, so I just had to live with it. But yeah, he ended up being kind of stiff, which is fine because I didn't really like the rendering either. So if I had ended up liking the picture and hated the rendering, I would have been very upset. But I ended up not really liking the rendering either, so we're just gonna, yeah. So basically, I just did the cleanup sketch. There's not really much to say about this. I just kind of cleaned up what I did. That's why it's called the cleanup sketch. I always have trouble figuring out where to put Leo's markings on his arms. Oh, I just realized, his little, what's it called? Sash. It's not a sash, but it's the thing that holds his swords on, the thing that goes across him. What do you call that? I don't know. Strap? We're just going to call it the strap for the purposes of this video. His strap is on the wrong side. It's supposed to be on the right side. I was watching the movie, and that's when I learned that. For the longest time, I thought it was the other side, and I think I thought that because it was the other side in the show before he got the new outfit in the finals, which is really confusing. But yeah, that's why I messed that up, so it was kind of irritating because I had to go back and change a lot of things for my comic just to keep things consistent. But yeah, I did not know that at this point in time, so I just continued to put it on the wrong side. It's one of those moments when you want to shout at your past self that you're doing it wrong, but they can't hear you because it already happened. They've already lived a full life, and their life is continuing, and now you're wanting to scream at them. It's quite weird, actually, that you would. Yeah, I'm going back on topic here. So I continued to do the line art. I basically just traced over everything I'd done in the cleanup sketch. I did change a couple of things. Like I moved a couple things up. Like in his plastering area, I noticed a couple things were too low down. I don't know what to call them, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what they are. I think you'll be able to tell if you look closely. I did struggle a lot with that hand down by his side, because it looked broken the way I drew it. Like, it looked like it had been busted back, but if I moved it the other way, I'd have to move the sword completely, and I, for some reason, believe I was feeling too lazy to do that. I don't think I moved it. I think I may have put the hand back in that broken position, but I can't remember. I guess we'll just have to see. We can both be surprised. It's not that good of a surprise, honestly. So I just continued to do line art, and that's really all there is to say about this portion of the video. I've already had to edit out a lot of footage while recording this audio that has just been me pausing and not doing anything. I have this thing where I do where I watch YouTube videos while I am drawing, so I'll pause and get distracted for like a couple minutes, and even in the time lapse the footage pauses in the same spot for a while. It's not really that interesting to look at because it's the exact same thing. And also, apparently I did move the sword, but it looks kind of awkward the way he's holding it, like he's not gripping it very well. I don't know why it's like that. Clearly, you can tell I don't like this picture at all. But that's okay. It was for practice, and at least I attempted to do something. And so now I moved on to the line art for the other sword. And I think that was it. Then I don't think there's any more line art that needs to be done. I don't know what else there would be to do. Yeah, I think I just finished the sword, and then we move on to coloring. And now we have colors. I always skip filling in the base colors because I have to select it from a bunch of different places, and that's not necessarily an entertaining process unless you really want to see all of my old art, which a lot of the time isn't that great, or is just, I also typically just use one picture, and if I was to show you it every time, you'd probably start disliking the picture just because it got old. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with the style, or what am I talking about? The rendering. I tried a couple different things. I saw this one thing where you like make different versions of colors, like warm and cool versions, and then you do the thing. And yeah, I tried it. It didn't really work. I did know I wanted to do a lot of blending for this picture. And that was about all I knew. The blending, though, I always have a bad history with blending. I tried the blending on my first ever illustration I did on the tablet, which I would put up on screen. I did just use an asset for the pose, since I could not figure out how to sketch with my finger on here. But basically, it did not go well because I did not know what I was doing with the blending tool, and I still didn't know what I was doing. In fact, I don't even think that's the blending tool. It's blur. But I don't know what else to use for a blending tool. I think that must be what it is. I think it just needs to be a softer blend because it's way too blurry looking. I don't know. I'd have to look at something that would tell me how to do this. But if I tried lowering the opacity, you just wouldn't see it. I don't think the colors contrasted enough from the actual picture. And yeah, so it just didn't quite work for shadows and lighting because you could barely tell it was there. And so as you can see, I basically gave up on it pretty fast. I did attempt to like outline all the cool shadows with warmer shadows or highlights or whatever. I didn't really know what I was doing. Okay, yeah, it looks like I tried to put a gradient on it. Obviously I was not happy with the way that was looking either. I bet if I'd kept going with this color thing, it would have looked a lot better, but I was not feeling it. So I decided to try something else, but I kept the other layers just in case. I went back to what I usually do with a layer set to multiply, but this time I figured I would try and blend things out and see if that worked. I didn't really know what I was doing, like I said earlier, and it did not end up working. What's funny though is I actually really liked this picture when I created it, and then the next illustration I did, I kind of hated it when I did it. But then I looked back at them both the next day, and I kind of hated this one, and I really liked the other one. So, yeah. Apparently, I changed my mind multiple times. Well, not multiple times. What am I talking about? I only changed my mind once. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Please ignore me. Ignore me when I make no sense. Listen to me when I do. That's a great advice. I think that's the advice for everything, honestly. No, wait, actually, no, that's kind of terrible advice. Don't listen to that. Forget what I just said. Anyway, I continued to do coloring. I feel like I should have done something where I did cooler colors on certain things and warmer colors for shadows on others, because I just did the same color on everything. And as much as I like that look, I feel like if I was going to try something different, I needed to do more than just put a blue on the eyes. I did add some highlights with Add Glow. I basically did exactly what I normally did and then tried to work from there. And obviously that did not go well. So don't do that. If you're going to try something different, look up a tutorial or a reference that you can learn from and go from there. Don't do what you did and just try to change that completely, because that'll just make everything more complicated. Yeah, I feel like you can still build off of what you did, but if you try and do exactly what you did and just change it from there, then you're going to have some trouble. You may end up being able to get it to work, but it's not going to be very easy. And obviously, I was not happy with these highlights, or I was. What's going on here? Why am I putting them back in? What the heck? I thought I didn't like them. What am I doing? Yeah, again, ignore me when I make no sense. Yeah. I'm making no sense because I'm talking about me making no sense. Can you tell that I have nothing to talk about for this video and I'm just stalling through the entire thing? But yeah, I continue to do highlights, and that's basically all there was to this part of the video. There's really nothing interesting about it, so I guess you can just stare at it. And yeah, I believe here's where I decided to move on to the blending, so I guess we'll go to that. Yeah. Oh no, here's what I did is I added a pink color to certain spots of the shadows, and I tried to blue, that didn't really work, but I added a pink color to like the edges of it, around it. I guess that kind of looked cool, and this is where I started blending it, because I was blending the two colors together. Basically the rule I set out for myself was if the shadow is being cast by another object, it won't be blended. If it's just because that object is blocking the light, then it will be blended. But obviously that is terrible advice, and you should not do whatever I just said. I wasn't giving advice, but it would be terrible advice if I was giving advice. Yeah. Basically, don't do that. There's a rule to when you're supposed to blend and when you're supposed to not blend. But obviously I didn't know it and didn't bother to figure out what that rule was, so I just wung it, and obviously, as I've mentioned multiple times before, it did not go well. I did not know what I was doing. But I just continued to be very ignorant of how horrible this was looking, and continued to blend things and try things and whatnot. And it was kind of going well. I thought it was going well. I thought it was looking pretty great. I wasn't 100% sold on it, but I didn't think it looked bad, as I would soon come to think. But yeah, obviously when you look at things with fresh eyes, things look very different, whether it's for the better or for the worse. It just doesn't quite look right. I did add a green to the mask. I don't know why I did that. It doesn't look good. Get rid of that, please. Oh, I did. Yay. So basically I did the same thing I was doing before, just with different colors, where I used a darker color or lighter color or different hue or whatever on certain things. And yeah, I think my flat shadow look is fine. I just wanted to try something a little bit more complicated, and I wasn't really liking the way it was going. So in the second one I did go back more to what I usually do, but it was still different. A lot more gradients. But I just continued to blend and blend and blend and blendy blend. I also tried to put shadows in a lot more places than I usually do. Like here, yeah, I don't think I liked that. It, for some reason, reminded me of like a Krang goop. This whole picture kind of reminded me of Krang goop. I don't know what it was. Why did it remind me of Krang goop? Why does it still remind me of Krang goop? I don't know. But yeah, I just continued to do this. Put the Krang goop on him. I think it's the colors. It's got to be the colors. But I use these colors a lot, so I don't know why it would do that. It's just so overwhelmingly pink and purple, like a brain. It's the brain. It's a Krang. The Krang is all brain though, so in the end, it is just Krang. I feel like I'm still talking nonsense. I tried to add a pink highlight to the highlights. Yeah, I don't know why I tried to do that. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Why would it be going from yellow to pink? I've seen it go from an orangey color to a purpley color, but that's in like a nighttime lighting. I've never seen it head from yellow to pink. That doesn't make any sense. Why did I do that? Yeah, at this point, I was pretty much done with the picture. I attempted to do a background, but that didn't work, so I ended up just leaving it white. But here is the finished picture. I guess it's not that bad, but I still feel like I could have done better, or it could have been better just in general. But here you go, here it is, and I guess, yeah, there's nothing really to it. But here we are switching to IPIS paint captured footage, because I messed up the footage that I did with my screen recorder. So we're just gonna do this, and yeah, it's not that bad of footage. It's just not as interesting, I guess. I mean, it doesn't move around as much, I guess. Yeah, but I just proceeded to sketch out Raph. I figured I could do two basically experiments in one, because I'm not that great at drawing Raph. I always make him way too small. In fact, all my characters are often too small. But yeah, I figured I could hit two birds with one stone and try a new rendering thing while also trying to make sure I drew Raph right. And I do think I mostly succeeded with this picture. There were a few things that gave me trouble, like the belt thingy. I had to move up later because it was way too low. And well, I guess other than that, it was fine. This footage is kind of janky. It like just kind of doesn't show me drawing the line. It just shows the completed line when it gets here, which is kind of weird, honestly. It's like just glitchy, glitch. Yeah, that's not what a glitch sounds like. But yeah, I just did the line art. There's not really much to say about this. I did end up coloring some line art that were on his arms because his glove thingies, you could not see the lines for that, so I ended up turning them white or a light gray or something. But it was definitely a different color, I remember, and it definitely gave a different feel just changing the line art color on that. It was quite odd how much it changed it, actually. I also used a very thick line art when doing that for some reason. I don't know why, but I kind of liked the look of that. I've never figured out how to pull off the very thick line art look. It's not really my thing, but on that certain detail, it looked fine. So at this point, I had nearly finished the line art. I just did a couple little things that I'd missed, and then I moved on to the coloring. Because this is IBIS Paint captured footage, you actually get to see the coloring because it kind of just shows when I was actually in the canvas selecting colors. And yes, I do know there is a reference thing that you can select colors from, and I do use that, but sometimes I use like other people's art and stuff, and because of that, I cannot show you guys my reference folder because I do not know exactly who all that art was by and stuff, and I don't want to like not give credit to the artist. So in the end, I just don't end up showing you guys it. And so after that, I moved on to the coloring. I was looking at a reference Rise, and they have a black shadow under the neck, and so I did that. Here's where I moved the belt thingy up, and then I had to adjust the coloring, which was a bit of a hassle, but I did it, and it didn't take me, I guess, too long. But basically I just continued to do the shading. I basically did exactly what I did, but instead in the last picture, but instead of blending anything, I just left it the cell shading. I did end up turning the background black because we couldn't see the highlights, and I wanted to keep them pretty white, I guess. Yeah, I just continued to do the thingy. I used the pink and the purple again, but I didn't blend them together, and it made them look a lot better. And I added a gradient to the bottom of him when I was done with that. I did try and go a little bit more with the shading. I've been trying to do that a lot more ever since my drawing the Ninja Turtles scary thing. I just feel like it pushes a feeling a lot more, and I really like the way it looks. I did add a subtle blue gradient to the background, and I just did a couple more things with like gradients and whatnot and shading, and after that I was pretty much done. You can't really see the pink I added to it, but it's there. I know that. Looks like I unsolidified the blue gradient. And I did adjust the color balance and turn everything a little bit more purple to fit with the shadow color. I like doing that. I feel like it really brings the piece together and it looks real nice. I also added a highlight to the ribbon. I saw someone do this and I thought it looked kind of cool. I've never done a highlight to a ribbon like that before, and I didn't quite do it right, but I feel like it still worked. I also completely put one side of his plastering in shadow, and I feel like that added a completely different look, and I actually really like it. But here's the finished pieces, and I really enjoyed making this video. It was a lot of fun, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching it. And if you have, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!